The sound of Nathan's laughter drifted through the open window, and my stomach clenched. I knew that laugh. It was the one he reserved for her. I set down my mug of tea with trembling hands and peered out into our backyard. There they were, Nathan and Abigail, heads bent close together over his phone. My husband's childhood friend had become a constant presence in our lives, and I was sick of it. "Hey, you two," I called out, forcing a smile as I stepped onto the patio. "What's so funny?" Nathan looked up, his blue eyes twinkling. "Oh, Molly, come here. You've got to see this video Abby sent me. It's hilarious." I gritted my teeth at the nickname. No one else called her Abby. I walked over, my arms crossed tightly over my chest. Abigail flashed me a bright smile. "Hi, Molly, how are you feeling? Nathan told me you weren't feeling well earlier." "I'm fine," I said curtly. "What's this video about?" Nathan held out his phone, but I made no move to take it. After an awkward moment, he pulled it back. "It's, just a funny cat video. You know how Abby loves those." "Right," I said, "because you two have so much in common." Nathan's brow furrowed. "Molly, what's wrong?" I took a deep breath, trying to calm the anger bubbling inside me. "Nothing. I just thought we were going to have a quiet evening at home. I didn't realize Abigail would be joining us." Again. Abigail's smile faltered. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to intrude. I can go." "No." Nathan said quickly. "You're not intruding. Molly's just tired, right, honey?" I stared at him, incredulous. Was he really going to dismiss my feelings like that? "Actually," I said, my voice tight, "I'd like to talk to my husband. Alone." Abigail stood up, smoothing her skirt. "Of course. I should be heading home anyway. Thanks for the coffee, Nathan." As she walked towards the gate, Nathan called out, "Drive safe, Abby." The moment she was out of earshot, I rounded on him. "What the hell, Nathan? We had plans tonight." He held up his hands defensively. "Whoa, calm down. Abigail just stopped by for a quick coffee. It's not a big deal." "It is a big deal," I snapped. "She's always here, always texting you, always the topic of conversation. I'm sick of it." Nathan's face hardened. "She's my oldest friend, Molly. You knew that when we got married." "Friend?" I laughed bitterly. "Is that what you call it when you spend more time with her than your own wife?" "That's not fair," he said, his voice rising. "I work with Abigail. We're on the same project. Of course we spend time together." I shook my head, fighting back tears. "It's more than that, and you know it. The way you look at her, the inside jokes. I feel like I'm the third wheel in my own marriage." Nathan's expression softened. He reached out to touch my arm, but I pulled away. "Molly, honey, you're overreacting. There's nothing going on between me and Abigail. I love you." I wanted to believe him. God, how I wanted to. But the nagging doubt in my gut wouldn't go away. "Then prove it," I said. "Set some boundaries with her. Put our marriage first." Nathan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "You're being ridiculous. I'm not going to cut off my best friend just because you're feeling insecure." His words hit me like a slap. Insecure? Is that what he thought this was? Before I could respond, Nathan's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, and I saw Abigail's name flash on the screen. "I have to take this," he said, already turning away. "It's about work." As he walked into the house, answering the call with a cheerful, "Hey, Abby," I stood there, frozen. In that moment, I knew. Something had to change. And if Nathan wouldn't do it, I would have to take matters into my own hands. I stared at the 2 pink lines on the pregnancy test, my heart racing with a mix of joy and dread. After months of trying, we'd finally done it. I was pregnant, but as I stood there in our bathroom, clutching the test, all I could think about was Abigail. Taking a deep breath, I stepped out into the bedroom where Nathan was getting dressed for work. "Nathan," I said, my voice shaky, "I have something to tell you." He turned, his tie hanging loosely around his neck. "What is it, Molly? Is everything okay?" I held out the test. "I'm pregnant." For a moment, Nathan just stared at it, then his face broke into a wide grin. "Oh my God, Molly, that's amazing!" He rushed over and wrapped me in a tight hug. I melted into his embrace, allowing myself a moment of pure happiness. This was what I'd wanted for so long, a family with the man I loved. But then Nathan's phone buzzed, shattering the moment. He pulled away to check it, and I saw that familiar softening of his expression that only happened when Abigail texted. "What is it?" I asked, trying to keep the edge out of my voice. Nathan's smile faltered slightly. "Oh, it's Abigail. She has some news too, apparently. Yeah, she wants to meet up for lunch to tell us." My stomach clenched. "Us? Why does she need to tell us both? He shrugged, already typing a reply. I don't know, but she says it's important. Come on, it'll be fun. We can celebrate our news too. I wanted to argue, to tell him that this should be our moment, just the two of us. But I bit my tongue. Fine, I said. Where are we meeting her? A few hours later, we sat across from Abigail at our usual cafe. She was practically glowing, like her hand resting on her stomach in a way that made my blood run cold. I'm so glad you both could make it, Abigail said, beaming. I have the most wonderful news. I gripped my water glass tightly, already knowing what she was going to say. I'm pregnant, Abigail announced, her eyes shining with tears of joy. Nathan's reaction felt like a punch to my gut. His face lit up and he reached across the table to grab Abigail's hand. Abby, that's incredible! Congratulations! I watched in horror as my husband and his best friend shared a moment of pure elation. It was as if I wasn't even there. Molly? Abigail's voice broke through my shock. Aren't you going to say anything? I plastered on a fake smile. Congratulations, Abigail. That's wonderful news. Nathan turned to me, his eyes dancing with excitement. Can you believe it, Molly? You're both pregnant at the same time. Our kids will grow up together, just like Abby and I did. In that moment, I felt like I was drowning. The thought of our children being as close as Nathan and Abigail made me want to scream. Actually, I said, my voice tight, I'm not feeling well. I think I need to go home. Nathan's brow furrowed with concern. Are you okay? Do you want me to come with you? I shook my head, already standing up. No, you stay. Celebrate with Abigail. I'll be fine on my own. As I walked out of the cafe, I heard Nathan call after me, but I didn't turn back. I couldn't bear to see him comforting Abigail, sharing in her joy while I felt like my world was crumbling. At home, I curled up on our bed, my hand resting on my still flat stomach. This should have been the happiest day of my life. Instead, I felt more alone than ever. My phone buzzed with a text from Nathan. Are you okay? Do you need anything? I stared at the screen, tears blurring my vision. How could I tell him that what I needed was for him to choose me, to put our family first? As I lay there, a resolve began to form in my heart. If Nathan wouldn't set boundaries with Abigail, I would have to take matters into my own hands. For the sake of my child, our child, I had to fight for my marriage. But first, I had to find out exactly what I was up against. The sharp pain in my abdomen jolted me awake. I gasped, clutching my stomach as another wave of agony washed over me. Nathan, I called out, panic rising in my throat. He stumbled into our bedroom, bleary-eyed. Molly, what's wrong? The baby, I choked out. Something's wrong with the baby. The next few hours passed in a blur of ambulance sirens, hospital corridors, and worried doctors. By dawn, I lay in a hospital bed, exhausted and scared, with Nathan holding my hand. The good news is, the baby's okay, the doctor said, her face serious. But you're experiencing some complications, Mrs. Walker. You'll need to be on bed rest for the next few weeks, at least. I nodded, relief washing over me. Our baby was safe, for now. As the doctor left, Nathan squeezed my hand. Don't worry, honey. I'll take care of everything. But over the next few days, it became clear that Nathan's idea of taking care of everything meant calling Abigail for help. I was dozing on the couch when I heard them in the kitchen. Thanks for coming over, Abby, Nathan said. I don't know what I'd do without you. Of course, Abigail replied. Anything for you two. How's Molly doing? She's struggling, Nathan sighed. This bed rest is really getting to her. I clenched my fists, fighting back tears. How dare he discuss me with her like that? Nathan, I called out, my voice sharp. Can you come here, please? He appeared in the doorway, Abigail hovering behind him. What is it, Molly? Do you need something? Yes, I said, sitting up slowly. I need to talk to my husband, alone. Abigail's face fell. Oh, I'll go start on dinner. As soon as she was out of earshot, I turned to Nathan. What is she doing here? He ran a hand through his hair, exasperated. She's helping, Molly. You heard the doctor. You need to rest. And I need my husband, I shot back. Not his, whatever she is to you. Nathan's eyes flashed with anger. She's my friend, Molly. My pregnant friend who's going through this alone. The least we can do is help her out. Help her out? I laughed bitterly. Nathan, I'm your wife. I'm carrying your child, and I'm the one who needs help right now. He softened, sitting on the edge of the couch. I know, honey, and I'm here for you, but Abigail needs us too. I shook my head, tears spilling over. No, Nathan, You need to choose. It's her or me. The silence that followed was deafening. Nathan stared at me, his face a mix of shock and hurt. Molly, you can't ask me to do that. In that moment, something inside me broke. I think you've already made your choice, I whispered. Before Nathan could respond, Abigail's voice drifted in from the kitchen. Nathan? Can you come help me with this? He hesitated, looking between me and the kitchen door. I should. Go, I said, turning away from him. Just go. As Nathan left the room, I heard him and Abigail laughing together in the kitchen. The sound cut through me like a knife. I placed a protective hand over my stomach, a fierce determination taking root in my heart. If Nathan wouldn't put our family first, I would have to take matters into my own hands. Slowly, carefully, I reached for my phone and dialed a number I never thought I'd use. Hello? A gruff voice answered. Richard? I said, my voice trembling. It's Molly. I need your help. Nathan's father was silent for a moment. Then, what's going on, Molly? I took a deep breath, steeling myself. It's about Nathan and Abigail. There's something you and Janet need to know. As I began to speak, I knew there was no going back. But for the sake of my child, I was ready to fight, even if it meant tearing everything apart. The tiny microphone felt like a lead weight in my hand. I stared at it, my heart pounding with a mix of guilt and determination. Was I really going to do this? Spy on my own husband? Molly? Sarah's voice snapped me back to reality. My old college roommate stood in my living room, concern etched on her face. Are you sure about this? I nodded, swallowing hard. I have to know, Sarah, for my sake and for my baby's. She sighed, running a hand through her short blonde hair. I get it. This is a big step. There's no going back once you do this. I know, I whispered, but I can't live like this anymore. The constant doubt, the suspicion, it's eating me alive. Sarah squeezed my shoulder. Okay, let's do this then. With trembling hands, I unzipped Nathan's work bag. The guilt threatened to overwhelm me, but I pushed it down. I thought of all the late nights at the office, the secretive text messages, the way his eyes lit up when Abigail walked into a room. No, I had to know the truth. I carefully tucked the tiny microphone into a hidden pocket, making sure it was secure. Just as I zipped the bag closed, I heard the front door open. Molly, I'm home! Panic surged through me. Quick, I hissed to Sarah. Act natural! Nathan walked into the living room, his eyebrows raising in surprise. Oh, hey, Sarah, I didn't know you were coming over. Sarah plastered on a smile. Just checking on the mama-to-be. How are you, Nathan? As they made small talk, I tried to calm my racing heart. Had he noticed anything amiss? But Nathan seemed oblivious, kissing me on the cheek before heading to the kitchen. I've got to run, he called out, meeting Abigail for dinner to go over some work stuff. Of course he was. I clenched my fists, forcing myself to sound casual. Okay, honey, have fun. As soon as the door closed behind him, I collapsed onto the couch, my legs shaking. Sarah sat beside me, her face grim. You okay? I nodded, unable to speak. What had I just done? The next few days were torture. Every time Nathan left the house, I found myself glued to my phone, listening intently through the app connected to the microphone. Most of it was mundane, work conversations, small talk with colleagues, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing something. Then, on the third day, I heard it. Abby, we need to talk. Nathan's voice was low, serious. My heart stopped. This was it. I know, Nate. Abigail replied, her voice thick with emotion. I can't keep doing this. It's not fair to anyone. You're right, Nathan sighed. We have to tell her. Molly deserves to know the truth. Tears streamed down my face as I listened. My worst fears confirmed. They were having an affair, and now they were planning to come clean. But as I continued to listen, my confusion grew. Something wasn't adding up. They weren't talking about a romantic relationship at all. Instead, I heard phrases like genetic testing and family history. Suddenly, the truth hit me like a ton of bricks. My hand flew to my mouth, stifling a gasp. Abigail wasn't just Nathan's childhood friend. She was his half-sister. The revelation left me reeling. All this time, I'd been suspicious of the wrong thing entirely. But why had they kept this a secret? And what did it mean for our baby? As I sat there, my mind racing, I knew I had a decision to make. Do I confront Nathan with what I've learned, or do I wait for him to come to me? One thing was certain. Nothing would ever be the same again. And as I placed a protective hand over my growing belly, I realized that the stakes were higher than ever. Whatever came next, I had to be ready to fight for my family, no matter the cost. I sat in my car, parked across the street from the little cafe where Nathan and Abigail were meeting. My hands shook as I adjusted the earpiece connected to the listening device in Nathan's bag. This was it, the moment of truth. "Are you sure you want to do this, Molly?" Sarah's voice crackled through my phone. It's not too late to turn back. I took a deep breath. "I have to know, Sarah. For my sanity, for my baby, I need to hear it for myself." As if on cue, Nathan's voice came through the earpiece. "Abby, we can't keep doing this. It's tearing me apart." My heart clenched. Here it was, the confession I'd been dreading and expecting in equal measure. "I know, Nate," Abigail replied, her voice thick with emotion. "But what choice do we have? If we tell Molly the truth, it could destroy everything." Tears blurred my vision as I listened, each word a dagger to my heart. But nothing could have prepared me for what came next. "She deserves to know that her baby might be at risk," Nathan said. "The genetic testing results." I froze. Genetic testing? What were they talking about? Abigail's voice trembled. "I know, but how do we tell her that that he's my father too? That there's a chance our babies could have the same genetic disorder?" The world tilted on its axis. I gripped the steering wheel, trying to make sense of what I just heard. Abigail was Nathan's half-sister. This wasn't an affair. It was something far more complicated. "We have to tell her," Nathan insisted. "And my parents. God, Dad doesn't even know about you. This is such a mess." I sat there, stunned, as they continued to talk. The pieces started to fall into place. The secretive conversations, the intense bond, the shared worry over their pregnancies. It wasn't betrayal I'd been sensing, but fear and guilt over a family secret. Suddenly, a tap on my window made me jump. I looked up to see Richard, Nathan's father, peering in at me with concern. "Molly? What are you doing out here?" Panic surged through me. I scrambled to turn off the listening device and hide the earpiece. "Richard, I was just—" But as I looked into his eyes so similar to Nathan's, and I now realized, to Abigail's, something in me snapped. I got out of the car, my legs shaky but my resolve firm. "We need to talk, Richard. All of us." His brow furrowed. "What's going on, Molly?" I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what I was about to do. "I know about Abigail. I know she's your daughter." The color drained from Richard's face. How did you—" "It doesn't matter," I said, my voice stronger than I felt. "What matters is that we're all going to sit down and talk about this, now." Before he could respond, I marched towards the cafe, Richard trailing behind me in shocked silence. As I pushed open the door, Nathan and Abigail looked up, their faces paling at the sight of us. "Molly?" Nathan stood, his voice filled with confusion and fear. "Dad? What's going on?" I looked at each of them in turn. My husband, his secret sister, their father. The weight of their secrets, of my own actions, pressed down on me, but I refused to buckle under it. "What's going on?" I said, my voice steady, "is that we're going to have a long overdue family meeting, and we're going to start with the truth. All of it." As I sat down at their table, I knew there was no turning back. Whatever happened next would change all of our lives forever. But for the sake of my child, of all our children, I was ready to face it head-on. The tension in Janet's living room was suffocating. I sat on the edge of the sofa, my hands protectively cradling my swollen belly as I faced the people who had turned my world upside down. Nathan paced nervously, unable to meet anyone's eyes. Abigail perched on an armchair, her face pale and drawn. Richard stood by the fireplace, looking like a man about to face a firing squad. And Janet, bless her heart, bustled about offering tea and cookies as if this were just another family gathering. "Enough," I said, my voice cutting through the awkward silence. "It's time we all laid our cards on the table." Nathan stopped pacing, his eyes finally meeting mine. "Molly, I don't know where to start." "How about with the truth?" I snapped, my patience wearing thin. "The whole truth, Nathan, about you and Abigail." Janet gasped, nearly dropping the tea tray. "What about Nathan and Abigail?" I took a deep breath, steeling myself. "They're half-siblings. Isn't that right, Richard?" The room fell silent. All eyes turned to Richard, who seemed to age a decade in that moment. "It's true," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Abigail is my daughter. I had an affair years ago. I never knew about her until recently." Janet's face crumpled. "Richard, how could you?" As Janet's sobs filled the room, I turned to Nathan and Abigail. "And you two? How long have you known?" Nathan ran a hand through his hair. "A few months. We found out when Abigail was doing some genetic testing for her pregnancy. The doctor noticed some similarities in our family histories." "And you didn't think to tell me?" I interrupted, my voice rising. "Your wife? The mother of your child?" "We were scared, Molly," Abigail said, tears streaming down her face. "We didn't know how to tell anyone. And then when we found out about the genetic risk for our babies..." My heart clenched. "What genetic risk?" Nathan knelt in front of me, taking my hands in his. "There's a chance our baby might have a rare genetic disorder. It's why Abigail and I have been spending so much time together. We've been consulting specialists, trying to figure out our options." I pulled my hands away, feeling sick. "So you've been lying to me, sneaking around behind my back, all because you couldn't find the courage to tell me the truth?" "I'm so sorry, Molly," Nathan pleaded. "We never meant to hurt you. We were just trying to protect everyone." "Protect everyone?" I laughed bitterly. "Look around, Nathan. Does anyone in this room look protected to you?" Janet was still crying softly, comforted by a guilt-ridden Richard. Abigail looked like she wanted the floor to swallow her whole. And Nathan? Nathan just looked lost. I stood up, my legs shaky but my resolve firm. "I think I've heard enough. I need some air." As I headed for the door, Nathan called after me. "Molly, wait, where are you going?" I turned back, taking in the scene one last time. This family, with all its secrets and lies. My husband, torn between loyalty to his sister and his wife. My unborn child facing an uncertain future. "I don't know," I said honestly, "but I do know this. I can't stay here. Not now. Maybe not ever." With that, I walked out, ignoring the pleas behind me. As I got into my car, my hands shaking as I gripped the steering wheel, I realized I had no idea where to go or what to do next. But one thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same again. And as I drove away from the house that held so many shattered dreams, I knew I had a choice to make. Fight for this family that had betrayed me, or forge a new path on my own. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in months, I felt a glimmer of hope. Whatever came next, I would face it on my own terms, for myself and for my child. The manila envelope felt heavy in my hands as I stood outside Nathan's office. My heart raced, but my resolve was ironclad. This was it. The moment that would change everything. I took a deep breath and pushed open the door. Nathan looked up, surprise flickering across his face. "Molly, what are you doing here?" "We need to talk," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Now." He nodded, gesturing for me to sit. I remained standing. "I've made a decision, Nathan," I said, placing the envelope on his desk. "I want a divorce." The color drained from his face. "Molly, please, we can work this out. I know I messed up, but..." "No," I cut him off. "There's no working this out. You lied to me. You put Abigail before me, before our child. I can't trust you anymore." Nathan's eyes filled with tears. "What about the baby? Our family?" I placed a protective hand over my swollen belly. "I'll raise this child on my own if I have to, but I won't subject them to a life of lies and divided loyalties." Just then there was a commotion outside. The door burst open, and Richard and Janet rushed in, followed closely by Abigail. "We heard you were here," Janet said, breathless. "Molly, dear, please reconsider. We're family." I laughed bitterly. "Family? Is that what you call this mess of secrets and betrayal?" Richard stepped forward, his face grave. "Molly, I know we've all made mistakes, but surely we can find a way to move past this, for the sake of the children." "The children," I repeated, my anger rising. "You mean the children who might have life-threatening genetic disorders because of your affair? The children who will grow up in a web of lies unless someone has the courage to break the cycle?" Abigail sobbed quietly in the corner. "I'm so sorry, Molly. I never meant for any of this to happen." I turned to her, my voice softening slightly. "I know, Abigail, but intent doesn't change the outcome. We all have to live with the consequences of our actions." Nathan stood, reaching for me. "Molly, please, I love you. We can get through this together." I stepped back, out of his reach. "No, Nathan, love isn't enough. Not anymore." I picked up the envelope and handed it to him. "These are the divorce papers. I'm asking for full custody with supervised visitation for you. I also want alimony and child support." Nathan's face crumpled as he leafed through the documents. This is everything. You're taking everything." "Not everything," I said quietly. Just what I need to start over, to give our child a chance at a life free from all of this. Richard cleared his throat. Now, Molly, let's not be hasty. Perhaps we can come to some sort of arrangement. For the sake of the family name. The family name? I exploded. Is that all you care about? Your precious reputation? Janet stepped in, her voice pleading. Molly, dear, we can help. We'll support you and the baby. You don't have to do this alone. For a moment, I wavered. The thought of facing single motherhood was terrifying. But then I looked at their faces. Nathan's guilt, Abigail's shame, Richard and Janet's desperate attempts to maintain control, and I knew what I had to do. I appreciate the offer, I said, my voice firm. But I think it's best for everyone if I make a clean break. This family has too many secrets, too much baggage. My child deserves a fresh start. I turned to leave, but Nathan's voice stopped me. Molly, wait, what about the genetic testing? What if our baby needs us, all of us, to get through this? I paused at the door, my hand on the knob. The weight of everything, the lies, the betrayal, the uncertain future, pressed down on me. For a moment I felt like I couldn't breathe, but then I felt a small kick from within, my baby reminding me of what was truly important. I turned back to face them one last time. If that happens, I said, my voice barely above a whisper, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But for now, this is goodbye. As I walked out of the office, leaving behind a chorus of protests and pleas, I felt a strange mix of terror and exhilaration. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time in months, I felt like I was finally taking control of my own destiny. Whatever came next, I would face it on my own terms, for myself and for my child. The hospital corridor seemed endless as I waddled towards the maternity ward, one hand on my swollen belly, the other clutching my overnight bag. This was it, the moment I'd been dreading and longing for in equal measure. As I approached the nurse's station, a familiar voice called out, Molly! I turned to see Nathan rushing towards me, his face a mix of concern and excitement. Behind him, Abigail waddled along, her own pregnancy now in its final stages. What are you doing here? I asked, my voice tight with pain and emotion. Nathan reached for my hand, but I pulled away. I know I don't have the right, he said, but I couldn't miss this. It's our child, Molly. Before I could respond, a contraction hit me hard. I doubled over, gasping. She needs help, Abigail called out, and suddenly I was surrounded by nurses, being ushered into a delivery room. The next few hours passed in a blur of pain, sweat, and determination. Through it all, Nathan stayed by my side, holding my hand, whispering encouragement. Despite everything, I found myself grateful for his presence. Finally, with one last push, our daughter entered the world. As her cries filled the room, I felt a love so fierce it took my breath away. She's beautiful, Nathan whispered, tears streaming down his face. As the nurses cleaned her up, a doctor approached us, his face serious. Mr. and Mrs. Walker, we need to run some tests. Given your family history, reality came crashing back. The genetic disorder, the reason for all the secrecy and pain. Do whatever you need to do, I said firmly. The weight was excruciating. Nathan paced the room while I cradled our daughter, memorizing every perfect feature. Finally, the doctor returned. I have good news, he said, smiling. Your daughter is perfectly healthy, no signs of the genetic disorder. Relief washed over me, so powerful I thought I might faint. Nathan collapsed into a chair, sobbing with joy. Just then a commotion erupted in the hallway. Abigail's voice, filled with panic, carried into the room. Something's wrong. The baby. Nathan's head snapped up, torn between staying with us and going to his sister. I saw the conflict in his eyes, the same one that had torn our marriage apart. In that moment, looking down at our healthy daughter, I made a decision. Go, I said softly. She needs you. Nathan hesitated. Molly, It's okay, I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. We'll be here when you get back. As Nathan rushed out, I held our daughter close, marveling at the twist of fate. After everything we'd been through, she was the one untouched by the family's dark legacy. Hours passed. I dozed fitfully, waking to every little sound. Finally, Nathan returned, his face etched with grief. Abigail's baby, he began, his voice breaking. I'm so sorry, I whispered, meaning it despite everything. Nathan looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in months. Molly, I know I don't deserve it, but I want to try again, to be the husband and father you both deserve. I gazed down at our sleeping daughter, then back at Nathan. The anger and hurt were still there, but alongside them was something else. Understanding, compassion, maybe even the seeds of forgiveness. I can't promise anything, I said slowly, but for her sake, I'm willing to try, to find a way forward together. Nathan nodded, tears in his eyes. That's all I ask. As the sun rose on a new day, I felt a glimmer of hope. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There were still wounds to heal, trust to rebuild, but looking at our daughter, I knew we had a reason to try. Whatever came next, we would face it as a family. Not the perfect, unblemished family I'd once dreamed of, but a real one. Flawed, complicated, but bound together by love and the promise of a new beginning. As I drifted off to sleep, our daughter nestled safely in my arms and Nathan keeping watch nearby, I realized that sometimes the most beautiful things can grow from the most broken places. And that perhaps was the greatest lesson of all.
My name is Chelsea. A few weeks ago, my father, who had been battling illness, passed away. I wish he could have seen his grandchildren, and that thought weighed heavily on me. I got married 5 years ago when I was 25. At my wedding, my father and I made a promise that I would tell him first when I got pregnant, but that promise remained unfulfilled. It's my one regret about my father, even though I did everything I could for him since his illness was diagnosed a year ago. I visited my parents' home frequently and accompanied my mother to the hospital. I increased the frequency of my phone calls and video chats, but I still can't shake the feeling that I could have done more. My mother, sitting next to me, reassured me. "You did your best, Chelsea." "Really?" I asked. "Yes, your father would have been satisfied," she said. At that moment, my sister Portia walked in with the lawyer. The lawyer, a man in his mid-40s, introduced himself as Samo and handed me his business card. "I'm the attorney. Thank you for coming. Please have a seat," he said. "Excuse me," my mother said as she guided him to a seat. Once he was settled, my sister blurted out, "I heard from this lawyer that Dad left quite an inheritance, and it's not all for you." "Portia, I know that," I said. My sister, now glaring at me, I glared back. Our relationship had become strained since we learned of Dad's illness, mainly because of Portia's arrogance. Despite my attempts to reach out, she never visited our father. Of course, I may have been too harsh because I was worried about him, but her indifference was also a problem. "You're not a child, so stop being so stubborn," I said. "I'm not being stubborn," she retorted. "I live in a city. It's not easy to come out to the countryside. But you can get here in 2 hours by car," I said. "Those 2 hours are tough and costly," she shot back. "It's the money that's important to you, isn't it?" "Of course I'm busy, so stop contacting me," she said. With that, she stopped talking. Even though she lived far away, she could have visited occasionally. That's why our relationship soured so quickly. In the end, Portia never visited our father, and our relationship never improved. The lawyer sensed the tension and intervened. "Let's calm down, please." "I apologize," I said, and the lawyer nodded. "As I mentioned on the phone, I have your father's will here. He contacted me a few weeks before he passed away. We met at the hospital, and he wrote the will in front of me with his primary physician present," the lawyer explained. My father had arranged for his physician to contact the lawyer upon his passing. Then the lawyer reached out to us, which brings us to the present moment. He pulled out a white envelope and placed it in front of us. "This is the will," he said. I recognized my father's handwriting on the envelope. Portia seemed impatient. "Never mind that. Just tell us what's in it." "I'm busy," she snapped. "Of course," the lawyer said with a wry smile as he opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with my father's wishes. Besides the house and land, my father's inheritance included some savings and a storage shed. We knew about the house and land. "My name is Chelsea. A few weeks ago, my father, who had been battling illness, passed away. I wish he could have seen his grandchildren, and that thought weighed heavily on me. I got married 5 years ago when I was 25. At my wedding, my father and I made a promise that I would tell him first when I got pregnant, but that promise remained unfulfilled. It's my one regret about my father, even though I did everything I could for him since his illness was diagnosed a year ago. I visited my parents' home frequently and accompanied my mother to the hospital. I increased the frequency of my phone calls and video chats, but I still can't shake the feeling that I could have done more. My mother, sitting next to me, reassured me. "You did your best, Chelsea." "Really?" I asked. "Yes, your father would have been satisfied," she said. At that moment, my sister Portia walked in with the lawyer. The lawyer, a man in his mid-40s, introduced himself as Samo and handed me his business card. "I'm the attorney. Thank you for coming. Please have a seat," he said. "Excuse me," my mother said as she guided him to a seat. Once he was settled, my sister blurted out, "I heard from this lawyer that Dad left quite an inheritance, and it's not all for you." "Portia, I know that," I said. My sister, now glaring at me, I glared back. Our relationship had become strained since we learned of Dad's illness, mainly because of Portia's arrogance. Despite my attempts to reach out, she never visited our father. Of course, I may have been too harsh because I was worried about him, but her indifference was also a problem. "You're not a child, so stop being so stubborn," I said. "I'm not being stubborn," she retorted. "I live in a city. It's not easy to come out to the countryside. But you can get here in 2 hours by car," I said. "Those 2 hours are tough and costly," she shot back. "It's the money that's important to you, isn't it?" "Of course I'm busy, so stop contacting me," she said. With that, she stopped talking. Even though she lived far away, she could have visited occasionally. That's why our relationship soared so quickly. In the end, Portia never visited our father, and our relationship never improved. The lawyer sensed the tension and intervened. "Let's calm down, please." "I apologize," I said, and the lawyer nodded. "As I mentioned on the phone, I have your father's will here. He contacted me a few weeks before he passed away. We met at the hospital, and he wrote the will in front of me with his primary physician present," the lawyer explained. My father had arranged for his physician to contact the lawyer upon his passing. Then the lawyer reached out to us, which brings us to the present moment. He pulled out a white envelope and placed it in front of us. "This is the will," he said. I recognized my father's handwriting on the envelope. Portia seemed impatient. "Never mind that. Just tell us what's in it." "I'm busy," she snapped. "Of course," the lawyer said with a wry smile as he opened the envelope. Inside was a single sheet of paper with my father's wishes. Besides the house and land, my father's inheritance included some savings and a storage shed. We knew about the house and land, but the storage shed was a surprise. As I was pondering this, Portia angrily interrupted the lawyer. "Wait a minute. What about the farm?" she asked. "Farm?" the lawyer asked. "Yes, the farm Dad used to work on as a hobby. My father ran a business in the next town, but after turning 50, he started thinking of closing it. I want to slow down a bit. Is that okay?" Back when I was in high school, I heard this idea. My sister, already in college, wasn't keen on it, but my mother and I, concerned about my father's health, agreed. "Don't worry about the money, Portia," my father reassured her. Reluctantly, she agreed, and so my father closed his company and started farming near our home. He found joy in moving his body while farming and seeing him happy. I felt reassured that we had made the right decision. My sister, however, didn't seem to share the sentiment. She had promised to return home after college, but ended up getting a job near her university. Eventually, she married the CEO of an aid company she met through work. That's why Father took up farming until he fell ill. My sister insisted that the farm should be part of the inheritance. When the lawyer reviewed the documents, he quickly found a note stating that the farm was rented land. Rented? My sister said, disappointed, but I thought we owned a large piece of land. Indeed, the farm where my father grew vegetables was spacious, but maybe it was for the best that it was rented. Considering we knew little about farming, the conversation then turned to dividing the inheritance. The house and land go to the wife, the lawyer declared, so we can divide the rest however we want. Please divide the savings and storage shed between you two, he continued. Savings mean cash, right? I'll take the cash, my sister asked. How much is it? The savings amount to about $100,000, the lawyer replied. There's no need to pay inheritance tax for this amount. Then I'll take the $100,000 in cash, my sister declared triumphantly. But I couldn't agree with such a selfish arrangement. I strongly protested against my sister. Wait a minute, I object. Why? I'm the oldest daughter, I argued. That's irrelevant. You can have the storage shed, my sister retorted, flipping through the documents. What even is that anyway? She asked the lawyer. It's the storage shed next to the farm. You'll inherit the building, the land, and its contents, the lawyer explained. My sister's eyes lit up at the mention of land. Even though she's married to the CEO of an aid company, does she still want more money? I wondered as I pondered. The lawyer continued, but it's about 65 square feet, roughly the size of a small bedroom. A small bedroom? Yes, here are the photos, the lawyer said, placing them on the table. The exterior looked like a rundown shack, and the interior contained only basic tools, nothing of significant value. I don't want it, my sister grimaced, glancing at the photos. The shed looked ordinary, almost unremarkable. These items are sentimental, but they won't bring in any money. As I considered the situation, my sister spoke up. Fine, I'll take the cash. You can have the dirty shed. Hold on, that's not fair, I protested. You agreed to vegetable farming. What are you complaining about now? Her response left me with little to argue. Still, I couldn't let her take all of Dad's inheritance without standing up for myself. So we're good then, my sister pressed, waiting for my answer. My mother interrupted. As long as Portia won't complain later, I have no objections. Portia quickly agreed. Of course, I won't complain. So it was decided Portia would get the cash, and I would receive the shed. My sister grinned triumphantly, but I wasn't content. I objected immediately. Just let it go. Why are you so greedy? Portia shot back. That's not it, I argued. You're being a hassle. You care more about money than about Dad's memory. Portia's words left me speechless. Of course, family is more important than money. While money matters, it should never be more valuable than family. But before I could respond, my sister abruptly ended the conversation. In the end, my mother received the house and land, while Portia got Dad's savings. All I was left with was the shed. My sister signed a document agreeing not to dispute the inheritance division and then laughed loudly. Frustrated, I vented to my mother, "Mom, why didn't you help me?" "I did help you," she replied. "How?" "You let Portia take the cash." "I made sure you got the shed," she said with a smile. I pouted in response, but my mother added, "You might find something surprisingly good if you look closely." The next day, I collected the key from the lawyer and headed to the shed near the field. It was a 10-minute walk from home, along a quiet rural road. Finally, I reached the field my father had rented for the past year. Now that he had been hospitalized, The field stood empty. I unlocked the shed and pushed the door open. "Wow, it's dusty," I muttered as a cloud of dust greeted me. The shed clearly hadn't been cleaned in a while. Still, there might be something of sentimental value left by Dad, I thought, glancing around. But the interior was just a dirty shed filled with farming tools and not much else. While the tools might have sentimental value, they were nothing extraordinary. Maybe I should just take what's inside for now, I mumbled as I continued to survey the room. That's when I noticed something strange. "Huh," I muttered. The inside of the shed seemed smaller than it looked from the outside. Perhaps it was the dim lighting, but the space felt a bit more confined than I had anticipated. Could it be my imagination? I stepped outside to take a closer look around the shed, but the feeling that something was off remained. After thinking it over, I walked around to the back of the shed, where it was bordered by a thicket of trees. To my astonishment, there was another door at the back. Wait, another entrance. I gasped. From inside the shed, there had only been a solid wall, indicating the only entrance was the door I used earlier. Yet from the back, there was another door. I was puzzled. How could there be a door at the back that wasn't visible from inside? This suggested there was a separate space accessible only from the outside. Excitement surged through me as I realized this could be one of Dad's surprises. He loved surprises and often surprised me on my birthdays. The memories brought tears to my eyes. Determined to uncover Dad's hidden surprise, I hurried back into the shed and began searching for the key to the back door. If Dad had left something special, he would have likely hidden the key somewhere in the shed. I let my instincts guide me as I began the search. I rummaged through the shed and eventually found 2 keys hidden in the handle of a shovel. Curious, I went around to the back and tried one of the keys in the door. With a click, the door opened. What could be in here? I wondered. Inside the small space, only about 3 feet wide, stood a large safe. Is this from Dad's company? I thought as I recognized the safe. It was the same one I had seen in the corner of his office when I was a child. Feeling nostalgic, I have the safe. This discovery brought back memories of my father and made the inheritance worthwhile. However, knowing Dad, I was sure this wasn't the final surprise. There must be more surprises, I muttered as I inserted the second key into the safe. The door creaked open with a rusty sound. What I saw inside left me speechless. The safe contained an unexpected inheritance. I quickly locked the safe again and rushed to find my mother to share the news. After explaining the situation to her, I called my husband for help moving the safe from my parents' house. It then dawned on me that the contents of the safe were likely part of my inheritance and might require me to pay inheritance tax. I decided to seek professional advice to handle the situation properly. I consulted the lawyer who recommended I speak with a certified public accountant. With a referral from a friend, I found an accountant and left the complicated matters in their hands. A year passed, and just when I thought things had finally settled down, my sister showed up near my home. "What brings you here all of a sudden?" I asked my sister, puzzled by her unexpected visit. "Well, I had some business at our parents' house, so I stopped by," she replied vaguely, her behavior striking me as odd. It seemed unlikely that she would casually visit, especially given the tensions surrounding our father's inheritance. Our relationship wasn't one that involved casual drop-ins. I couldn't shake off my suspicion as I observed her. Despite her nervous demeanor, my sister asked, "Can I come in?" I hesitated for a moment before reluctantly agreeing. Once inside, after serving some coffee, she began to fidget before finally speaking up. "Do you happen to have won the lottery or something?" she blurted out. Confused, I shook my head. No, I didn't. And it's not bonus season for my husband either. Perplexed by her line of questioning, I asked, "What on earth are you talking about?" This seemed to trigger her, and suddenly she grew offensive. "What are you making fun of me for?" she snapped. "No, I'm not making fun of you. I just don't understand what you're talking about," I replied, trying to keep the situation calm. "Money, you have it, don't you?" "Money," she exclaimed, her voice rising with excitement. It was then that she launched into a story she had heard a few days ago. She had run into her aunt in the city by chance, and their conversation had turned to our father's passing. "I know how hard it's been for you since you lost your father. Are you doing okay?" our aunt had asked. "Yes, well, I visited him many times when he was sick." "Thank you," my sister had replied. "But you must be relieved, right? Getting such a big thank you gift," our aunt had continued. "Thank you gift? Yes, your sister sent me a $500 gift card as a thank you for visiting him," our aunt had revealed. My sister had latched onto this information, convinced that I had sent the gift card. "You came into some extra money, didn't you?" my sister accused, pressing me for an answer. "Ah, so that's what this is about," I sighed, understanding her line of questioning. My reaction seemed to annoy her, and she snapped, "Why are you acting like that?" "Are you mocking me?" "No, not at all. It was just a thank you gift," I explained calmly. "But where did you get the money for it?" "That's what I want to know," she demanded. "From the inheritance," I replied. My sister frowned upon hearing this. "All you got was that dirty shed," she said. Yes, that's true, but there was a safe inside the shed. "That's where the real inheritance was," I clarified. "Real inheritance," she repeated, her interest piqued. I went on to explain the contents of the safe inside were valuable watches my father had collected as a hobby during his life. I admitted that I didn't know their exact worth, but I estimated the remaining savings at around $100,000. Joy and my father have been a successful business owner who retired early. This amount seemed modest. It led me to believe he had invested heavily in those watches. "If they're valuable, you'll have to pay inheritance tax," my mother had pointed out after seeing the contents of the safe. "What should I do, Mom?" I had asked. She paused to consider and advised, "It's best to declare everything properly. Things like this always come up in the end." "But how do I go about it?" I asked. "Let's consult the lawyer we spoke to recently," she suggested. So I scheduled another meeting with the lawyer. I was informed that when you inherit valuable items, the inheritance tax is determined by their current market value. Additionally, I was advised that a certified public accountant could manage the tax situation for me. So I entrusted them with the task. After consulting with the accountant, it was determined that the watches alone were valued at a minimum of $500,000. With such high-value watches, you'll need to pay inheritance tax, the accountant advised. To cover the inheritance tax, I decided to sell some of the watches. Since I lacked expertise in valuing them, it made sense to sell the more expensive pieces to someone who could appreciate their worth. The proceeds from the sale were used to pay the inheritance tax, and I sent thank you gifts to the relatives who had supported us. Those thank you gifts were the gift cards my sister was referring to. Meanwhile, I kept sentimental items like the pocket watch my father often wore. As I shared the story with my sister, I showed her the pocket watch. "This one isn't expensive, but it holds the most memories for me," I explained. Despite this, my sister's reaction was less than enthusiastic. "You don't have any watches left?" she asked. "No, I still have some of the safe. It's at Mom's place." "The safe is too large for my house and was the one Dad used at his company," I reassured her. My sister murmured, looking away and deep in thought. Her expression made me uneasy, but she soon stood up and announced, I'm leaving. Now that I know where the money came from. She left without further incident. Given my sister's focus on money, I expected she might demand a share of the proceeds from the watch sales, so I was relieved she left without any fuss. In my relief, I overlooked the earlier unease I felt about her demeanor. However, my relief was short-lived. Late that night, my mother called me urgently. "Chelsea, it's urgent. Please come over right away," she said, her voice shaky. "What happened, Mom?" I asked, alarmed by her frantic tone. "It's just really bad," she replied. My husband and I rushed to my mother's house. As we approached, we noticed something alarming. The area around my parents' house was lit up in red. "What's going on?" I exclaimed as we got closer. The reason became clear. Several police cars were parked outside my parents' house. I pushed through the crowd and called out to my mother. "What happened, Mom?" My mother told me the story. Around 9:00 p.m., feeling exhausted, she had already gone to bed. Shortly after, she heard I couldn't stand the thought of being stuck with a woman who had a huge pregnant belly, making me raise the child alone. His eyes showed disgust, and a big smile appeared on his face, knowing this day would come. Even though I saw it coming, I quickly went to my room and came back with a document. I handed the divorce papers to Paul. His face twisted in shock. "What the hell? What's this all of a sudden?" he yelled. "Well, it was your idea. Now sign it quickly." "I'll submit it tomorrow," I said firmly. His face turned red with anger as my words hit him hard. "Watch closely. I'll make you regret how you've treated and looked down on me all this time," I declared. "My name is Lisa. I'm a 28-year-old housewife. Until 3 years ago, I worked for a mobile company. I met Paul Walter, my boss, when I was 25. We quickly fell in love and got married. Paul, 4 years older than me, was very reliable, especially when teaching me the job as a newcomer who didn't know much. I was very grateful for Paul's clear instructions. We became friends and often went out to dinner. When he asked me out, I was thrilled, especially since I had never dated anyone before. It's embarrassing to admit, but as a cartoon enthusiast, I was always more interested in 3D characters than real men. However, seeing my high school and college classmates getting married, I started to feel the pressure. When I fell in love with Paul, I secretly promised myself it would be my first and last love. So when we started dating and got married a year later, I was overjoyed. I was extremely happy. Paul was good-looking and popular among our female coworkers. I was proud to be his wife, and many congratulated us, saying things like, "Congratulations," or "I'm jealous, but I wish you happiness." I was filled with joy and couldn't imagine what was coming next. "You're quitting your job," Paul said. "You're married to me now, so you'll quit your job, right?" I informed them yesterday. The day after we registered our marriage, Paul surprised me with this news. "I've always wanted my wife to focus only on household matters. Don't worry, I can support both of us with my income," he added. "But this is so sudden. You never mentioned this before," I replied, shocked. Paul had never talked about me quitting my job before our marriage. I had taken my current job based on my father's recommendation, and leaving without notice wouldn't be right. I wanted to explain this, but Paul's eyes silently warned me not to argue. Instinctively, I kept quiet. "I should have told you, but it's done. Starting tomorrow, you don't need to go to work." "I'll handle the handover," Paul declared. The news about starting tomorrow was so abrupt it made me feel dizzy. However, Paul's words were firm. Since he had been my boss, I couldn't oppose him. Even though I had to leave my job without a proper goodbye, I was determined to make our marriage work. Paul had entrusted me with household duties, and I wanted to meet his expectations. I worked hard at household chores, preparing meals and focusing on Paul's favorites. Although Paul ate without commenting on the taste, I longed for a word of appreciation. After quitting my job, I was no longer recognized by anyone. One day, Paul asked, "Is my jacket clean? I have an important meeting tomorrow." "Yes, of course," I replied, seeing his domineering side with some old-fashioned views. I reminded myself how lucky I was to have married him and tried to meet his expectations. With no personal income, living normally meant relying on Paul. Our relationship often felt more like that of an employer and housemaid than a husband and wife. Our married life was generally smooth until one day when I fell ill and couldn't get out of bed. I felt very tired and weak. I thought I would catch up on housework the next day. Paul entered the bedroom and angrily asked, "What are you doing? Get up and make some food," as he kicked the blanket off me. "I'm sorry, I'm feeling unwell. Can you manage something for yourself today?" I explained, hoping for understanding. Instead of nodding or comforting me, Paul frowned and said, "You don't work, yet you're lying down just because you feel a bit sick." Pathetic. Get up, and kicked me again. The day Paul came home after midnight was the day I chose to share the news. However, when he entered, the smell of alcohol made me nauseous. His face was flushed, and he staggered as he walked. It was surprising how much he had drunk, especially without notifying me. Even though I had prepared dinner, in disbelief I got up from the bed. I never thought he would demand housework from his sick wife. I had never imagined he would be like this before we married. Maybe it was my fault for not seeing it, but it was too much. I found myself doing chores while tears streamed down my face. Several days passed, and my health showed no signs of improvement. Then I realized I had missed my period. Panicking, I rushed to the drugstore to buy a pregnancy test. When I tried it, the result was positive. Overjoyed, tears flowed naturally, and I decided to share the news with Paul when he returned from work, lifting my spirits instantly. The day Paul came home after midnight was the day I chose to share the news. However, when he entered, the smell of alcohol made me nauseous. His face was flushed, and he staggered as he walked. It was surprising how much he had drunk, especially without notifying me. Even though I had prepared dinner, I wanted to share the news of my pregnancy with Paul. Quickly, my excited emotions surged, and I told my intoxicated husband. "I haven't been to the doctor yet, so it's not confirmed," I began eagerly. However, Paul's face darkened as he responded, "A child. What have you done?" His tone was harsh and unlike anything I'd ever heard before. "I don't want a child." "Damn, this is the worst. If you're going to have it, raise it yourself," he said. His harsh words shocked me. He rudely stripped off his clothes and headed to the bathroom. It was unbelievable. I couldn't understand why he would make such irresponsible comments about our baby instead of being happy. The happiness I had felt moments ago was immediately replaced with deep sorrow. Why would he say such things? He had never mentioned not wanting children before. We hadn't even been using contraception, so I naturally thought we both wanted children. As I hung Paul's jacket and was about to take his shirt to the washroom, I noticed something else. A piece of paper had emerged from the pocket of his dress shirt. I could tell it was a receipt because of its texture. At first, I thought it was just a receipt from tonight's gathering, and I was about to throw it away. But then I saw the name of the place. "Is this a motel?" My hand holding the receipt trembled. It was indeed a motel. The shock of this discovery weighed heavily on my heart. Why doesn't Paul love me? Isn't marriage supposed to be between two people who love each other? We've only been married for just over a year. How could this be? I have been lost in imaginary romances for years, never truly engaging in a real relationship. I couldn't accept this harsh reality immediately. However, the idea of Paul cheating began to make sense, and many pieces fell into place. Had Paul been using me from the very beginning of our marriage? Was he genuinely in love with the person he was cheating with, while I was just a convenient servant? All these doubts swirled in my mind. Was that why he reacted so harshly when he learned of my pregnancy? As I grappled with these thoughts, nausea set in, and I became convinced something was wrong. Yes, there's no doubt now. Perhaps the reason he made me quit my job was that his mistress worked there. Everything seemed to make sense now, as if he had married me for stability and not love. The line between reality and my imagination became blurry. Still, there was no denying the heartless words he had thrown at me after learning about my pregnancy. That day, I decided to gather evidence of Paul's infidelity. From then on, his cold behavior towards me was undeniable. It was as if he couldn't forgive me for becoming pregnant. Despite knowing that I was suffering from morning sickness, he would deliberately eat smelly foods near me and nitpick my housework, forcing me to redo tasks. My pregnant body had to endure a lot, and my heart was heavy. Despite this, I continued to investigate his affair. Paul never parted from his cell phone, even taking it with him to the bathroom, making it impossible for me to sneak a peek. When I secretly entered Paul's room, it was neat and tidy with nothing incriminating in sight. He was meticulous at work, and his desk was always in perfect order. I realized it would be challenging to catch him off guard directly. I often checked Paul's pockets for evidence, like receipts, but my investigation was difficult. I thought about hiring a detective, but didn't have the money. While I was deep in thought, I received an unexpected phone call from my father. "Hello, it's me, your dad." "How are you?" he asked. Surprised by his call considering his busy schedule, I replied, "Dad, what's going on? Aren't you busy with work?" "My employees have been doing well, so I'm not that busy," he explained. My father, the CEO of a company in France, was always a workaholic. I didn't have many childhood memories of playing with him, but I respected his dedication to his job. His unexpected call left me curious about the purpose. "So what's happening?" I asked. My father proceeded to reveal a shocking truth. "Is that really true?" I asked in disbelief. "Yes, he's not the type to lie." "I want you to believe me," my father reassured me. Initially in shock and unable to respond, I felt a mix of anger and frustration as the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. "Thank you, Dad. I'll do my best," I told him with gratitude before hanging up the phone. My investigation was finally paying off, but the newfound knowledge also stirred up feelings of anger and frustration. Due to the ongoing tension between Paul and me, Paul continued to be distant even though I was pregnant. Each time he acted this way, I harbored a deep hatred towards him. Months passed, and our relationship remained strained. Eventually, an event occurred that shattered our life. At last months pregnant, I was always cautious around Paul, living in constant fear. I tried to avoid him, leading a quiet and stifled life. One day, I cooked dinner as usual. When Paul returned home, we sat at the dining table. As I quietly ate, Paul suddenly slammed his fork down. "What is this? It's tasteless," he exclaimed, throwing the food I had prepared onto the floor. Baffled by his outburst, I tried to comprehend the situation. The anger at having the meal I had cooked discarded before me began to build up inside. "I've been contemplating this for some time, but recently you've been complaining about the taste of the meals," I said. Paul criticized my cooking, saying it was tasteless. Since becoming pregnant, I have been using less seasoning to make healthier meals. This was only temporary until the baby was born. If he found the food bland, he could have added some salt himself. Why did he have to throw the meal on the floor? I was about to complain when Paul sneered and said hurtful words. I don't want a woman with a belly like a monster. You have to raise the kid by yourself, he said, looking at my swollen belly with malice and a nasty smile. I had always feared this day might come, even though I hoped for a different outcome. Swiftly, I went to my room, retrieved a document, and returned to present it to Paul. Fine. Here are the divorce papers, I said, thrusting the paired documents in front of him. Paul's face twisted in shock. What the hell? What's this all of a sudden? He stammered. Well, it was your idea. Now sign it quickly. I'll submit it tomorrow, I responded. In reality, I had been contemplating divorce since I began suspecting Paul's infidelity. However, with a child on the way, I was unsure if I could support myself. But now I had a different plan in mind. My resolve seemed to provoke Paul. His face turned red with anger. Just watch. I will make you regret every moment you looked down on me and controlled me. Do you think you can survive without me? You have a baby to care for, and you'll regret it, he threatened. My determination was unshaken. I'll be fine. Don't worry about me, I assured Paul. Perhaps irritated by my confidence, he snatched the divorce papers and began to fill in the blanks. Here you go. If this is what you wanted, it's yours, he said. Thank you, I responded. Paul probably didn't think I would actually submit the divorce papers as he handed them over without a fuss. The following day, I promptly submitted the divorce papers and left the house. I knew he would be surprised when he returned from work to find out. After that, I moved to my parents' home, primarily due to my father's return to the UK from France and his suggestion that I stay with them. It was the right decision at the time. I was fed up with my life with Paul and deeply thankful to my father. On the day I left our home, I received 3 calls from Paul, but I ignored all of them. Eventually, he stopped calling. It became clear that I meant very little to him. He was probably content with his mistress and might even remarry soon. I decided to move on from Paul. 5 months passed, and I had a baby who was born safely. I was now living happily with my parents and my baby. While I was enjoying this peaceful life with my family, Paul called again. I ignored his calls at first, but after several persistent attempts, I had no choice but to answer. Hello, what do you want now? I said, wary of his tone. Hey, what's going on? Why were you on that show? And since when were you the daughter of a CEO with millions of dollars? I never knew that. Paul's voice boomed with surprise and anger. It turned out that Paul had seen a TV show that was broadcasted after I returned to my family home. I had received a request from a TV station thanks to my father's role as the CEO of a renowned global tech company. The show featured the lavish lifestyle of the CEO's family. Producers had come to our house and filmed our family's lifestyle. During the TV show interview, they discussed our family's wealth, mentioning a rough estimate of $25 million. I never imagined Paul would see that show, but the power of television is truly something. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you that I have an asset of $45 million due to an advanced inheritance. That's why I was able to divorce you, I said. Yes, my father informed me about the inheritance, which gave me the confidence to live comfortably even after divorcing you. Upon hearing this, Paul's reaction was immediate, and he was furious. What? That's dirty. Why didn't you tell me about this before? Half of it is mine, right? Give me the money now, he demanded. I calmly responded, just as I suspected. After seeing the show, all you could think of was getting money from me. Gifts from parents are not included in property distribution. Are you forgetting your own mistakes? Paul was puzzled and asked, "What are you talking about?" I continued, "I'm tired of your anger, Paul. You called me yourself. You should know you can't blame me for what you did. You cheated, didn't you? With your new wife, who's a junior from your company. You started dating her even before our marriage." Paul was clearly shocked by the information I got from my father. I finally had the upper hand. "Did you think I wouldn't find out? My father has many contacts in your company, and one of them informed me about your affair. I've never mentioned it, but I'll be demanding child support." Paul, still in denial, protested, "Stop kidding. Why should I pay child support? It's all because of you, right? You got pregnant on your own and slacked off with household chores. It's all your fault." Hearing Paul blame me without apologizing for his own mistakes was beyond belief. I couldn't believe I was ever married to someone so lacking in common sense. I truly felt it was the right decision to leave him, Paul. "I'm broke, my wife spent all the money I earned, and now I'm in debt," he pleaded. Hearing Paul's painful excuse, I went from anger to sheer disbelief. I never wanted to deal with such an unreasonable person again. With that thought in mind, I firmly gripped my phone. "What are you talking about? Do you even realize how ridiculous you sound? I never want to deal with you ever again. I'll have my lawyer handle the matter of child support. Never call me again, and you will not see the child anymore. Goodbye." "Hey, wait," he called out, but I quickly hung up the phone. Afterwards, I blocked Paul's number and took a deep breath. It's over now, right? I won't get any more calls from Paul. I no longer want him disrupting my peaceful life. Just then, I heard my baby crying from the other room and rushed to soothe the baby. It turned out that he began paying child support every month. According to a former colleague, Paul claimed that the woman he remarried was quite a spendthrift, and he had to cover his current living expenses with debt. It seemed that because of these circumstances, Paul had tried to get a share of my inheritance by calling me. However, Paul didn't get a penny from me. Now his expenses were greater than his income, and he was struggling. Either he felt things were falling apart, or he couldn't stand being looked down upon by his colleagues. What's more, he made the mistake of starting his job search only after leaving his current company. This resulted in him being forced into a life of poverty. Hearing this from a colleague didn't move me at all. I thought he deserved all the hardships. The harsh words and cold demeanor he showed me will never fade from my memory. I sincerely hope he gets what he deserves. Meanwhile, I'm enjoying being a parent. With the help of my parents, my baby is growing up healthy and happy. I feel supported and loved in my family's home, and I no longer have to worry about financial issues. My father, who is a successful CEO, mentioned that he wants to pass on the company to me. This news was both surprising and motivating. I realized that I needed to prepare myself for the responsibilities that would come with running a company. My father has always been a hardworking man, and I wanted to make him proud. So I started learning more about the business, taking on small tasks to understand how things work. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but I was determined to succeed. Living with my parents has given me a chance to rebuild my life. I feel more confident and ready to face the future. My father's faith in me has inspired me to aim high. He believes in my abilities, and that belief has become a source of strength for me. Every day, I work on balancing my role as a mother in my preparations to take over the company. It's challenging, but I find joy in every moment. My baby's laughter and my parents' support keep me going. I am grateful for this second chance at life, away from the toxic relationship with Paul. I often reflect on my past with Paul. His betrayal and cruelty hurt deeply, but they also taught me valuable lessons about strength and self-worth. I have grown from that experience and emerged stronger. I am now focused on building a bright future for myself and my child. The pain of the past is slowly fading, replaced by the hope and excitement of what lies ahead. I am determined to create a happy and stable life for my child with my family by my side. I know I can achieve anything I set my mind to. Looking back, I see that leaving Paul was the best decision I ever made. It allowed me to find myself again and to discover my true potential. I am no longer the scared, uncertain person I once was. I am a strong, capable woman ready to take on the world. In the end, I hope Paul realizes the consequences of his actions. As for me, I will continue to move forward, embracing the opportunities that come my way and making the most of every day. I am ready for whatever the future holds, confident in my ability to overcome any challenge. Thanks for quitting, Olivia sneered and looked at me. I just silently stared back at her. It's about cutting labor costs. We don't need someone who exploits overtime pay at our company. Jerry seemed pleased too. A week later, I kept getting calls from the company. Hello, I answered. The president spoke. Who exactly are you? I laughed mockingly at his words. I am Nicole Wallace. I'm 57 years old. I've been working at this company for 35 years, since graduating from college. Our company is staffed with administrative scriveners, social insurance labor consultants, and tax accountants handling clerical work for our clients. This is especially popular with company presidents who run their businesses alone. These presidents are busy with sales and lack the time for clerical work, so our company takes care of it for them. I belong to the tax department. I got my bookkeeping and tax accountant qualifications during my school days, and that's why I joined this company. Now I'm managing 41 clients, which keeps me quite busy. Even though a part-timer handles the accounting entries, it's still overwhelming. But I can't show any weakness. Our clients are all long-term relationships, and many of them have had their fair share of hardships. Seeing them face adversity, I feel I can't lose either. So here I am in front of my computer again today. Lately, I've been troubled. Jerry and Olivia have been harassing me. Jerry, 6 years younger than me, is the head of the tax department. He used to be just a regular colleague, but his attitude changed drastically 5 months ago when he got promoted. He used to speak politely, but suddenly he started talking down to me. Nicole, what are you doing? You've got some nerves slacking off during work hours. He's always either sarcastic or complaining. I'm looking at documents for tax-saving strategies for our clients. When I talked back, Jerry stayed calm. Just check the manual for that. Don't do anything unnecessary. And if you end up working overtime, don't expect to get paid for it, he said, glaring at me. Unable to respond, I heard Olivia, Jerry's assistant, say, Nicole, you should work more efficiently. At this rate, you'll never finish. That's why you're still a regular employee. Olivia laughed mockingly. I was the first to be offered the promotion to department head, but I declined. Becoming the head meant more time for management and less for client interaction. It was an internal offer, so Jerry and Olivia didn't know about it. I'll make sure to complete my regular duties as well, I managed to say. Still, Jerry and Olivia's harassment continued. You're increasing overtime again. What a waste of overtime, Jerry's angry voice echoed today. Nicole, cut it out. Your constant overtime is dragging down the whole tax department's performance, Olivia sighed. The reason for yesterday's overtime was simple. Jerry had accumulated a month's worth of declaration forms to be filed by the end of the month. After work yesterday, Jerry suddenly said, "Take care of these," and left several client files on my desk. I turned pale when I saw the files. "Wait, these all have deadlines this month, right?" I asked in confusion, but Jerry was already packing up at his desk. "I'm heading out." "Take care," he said, and quickly left the office. "Good luck," Olivia followed Jerry out, laughing mockingly. Unbelievable, I sighed and opened the client files left on my desk. Some of the files were Olivia's responsibility. I sighed even deeper. I knew why Jerry was harassing me. They wanted me to retire quickly. I have more experience and deeper knowledge in taxation than him, so other members of the tax department come to me with their questions instead of Jerry. There are other reasons why everyone avoids Jerry. He looks greasy and unapproachable. The only female employee who stays near him is Olivia. Jerry likes young women. That's probably why he wants me to retire, so the other female employees will rely on him more. It's such shallow thinking. It gives me chills. There's also the fact that he simply doesn't like me. Olivia was harassing me to curry favor with Jerry. Jerry evaluates the performance of the tax department, so she probably wanted to undermine me to get a good evaluation from him anyway. I have to manage these declarations. I have to prepare the tax declarations for my assigned companies, but it looks like I won't finish today's work either. If I try to claim overtime, I'll just get complaints from Jerry and Olivia. So I resigned myself to unpaid overtime. Then one day, I was suddenly called to the president's office. Our company had just had a change of president. The original president's father had been managing the company since it was founded, and he had recently handed it over to his son. The son had always worked at another company and wasn't fully familiar with ours, but he had to take over because his father had suddenly fallen ill. "Excuse me," I said as I entered the president's office. I noticed Jerry and Olivia there, both with unpleasant smirks on their faces. Why are Jerry and the others here? I muttered quietly so no one else could hear. In this tense and strange atmosphere, the president spoke. "Nicole, we'll need you to resign by the end of this month." "Excuse me, what do you mean?" I asked, my mind spinning. "I heard from Jerry and Olivia that you've been overbilling for overtime. Other members of the tax department have only about 16 hours of overtime per month, but Nicole, you're already over 83 hours. Don't you find that odd? Jerry and Olivia have 0 overtime this month. Impressive, right?" The president looked at me sternly. The reason my overtime was so high this month was that I was doing Jerry and Olivia's work. But if I said it was Jerry's instructions, it would seem like my own inability to manage time. So I just stated the facts. I haven't overbilled for overtime. It's because I couldn't finish my work within regular hours, I explained. The president sighed deeply. "I'm doubtful, but there's no evidence, so I won't pursue it further. However, we can't continue to employ someone who works that slowly. So I want you to resign," the president said firmly. Me being told to leave the company I had dedicated my entire 35-year career to. I was tired too. No matter how much more I did beyond my own work, it was never appreciated. Instead, I ended up having to take on Jerry and Olivia's work as well. "Yes, I understand. I'll resign at the end of this month," I replied. I realized I had already said that to the president. I glanced at Jerry and Olivia. They were smiling smugly, looking very pleased. After leaving the president's office with them, Olivia looked at me and said, "Thanks for quitting." Olivia sneered at me. I just silently stared back at her. Jerry also looked down on me the same way. "We're cutting labor costs. We don't need someone who exploits overtime pay at our company," Jerry remarked, seeming pleased. While watching the two of them talk so cheerily, I thought about the handover process and started creating the handover documents for all my clients. Of course, I didn't miss saying goodbye to the people I was handing over to. I tried to get an appointment with the president to say goodbye in person. For the presidents I couldn't meet, I sent letters and informed them of my successor. A week after I resigned, I was relaxing at home. I had been busy with the handover until my resignation and had been extremely busy even before that. A little relaxation shouldn't be a problem. As I was thinking this, my mobile phone rang. When I checked the call, it was from the company. What could they want now? I made sure to take care of the social insurance procedures. I didn't answer the phone, but then the company called several more times. In fact, I had also received several calls from Jerry and Olivia's personal mobile phones. Maybe they thought I'd answer if it was from the company. Reluctantly, I decided to answer. Hello. Nicole, it's a mess right now, the president said as soon as I answered. Who exactly are you? I laughed mockingly at his words. Who am I? Just an unemployed lady. I've resigned from the company, and I'm nothing else. Right then, the president spoke urgently. Since you left, we've had 55 calls to stop transactions with the company. Please come back immediately. The president said his piece and hung up. He must be really panicked. I guess I have no choice. I got up reluctantly and headed to the company. As soon as I arrived, Jerry and Olivia were waiting. Both of their faces were pale, and they had dark circles under their eyes. What's wrong with both of you? I asked, surprised at their drastic change in appearance. Jerry glared at me and said, since you left, we've been getting calls one after another to stop transactions. Not just from your clients, but from prospective companies we were planning to introduce. What did you do? Olivia also looked at me with suspicion. I never thought Nicole would do something so underhanded. I'm truly disillusioned. The reason they both looked so haggard was probably due to dealing with the cancellations. I hadn't done anything to the clients, but I had a guess why they were canceling their transactions. While the cancellations might be unavoidable this time, I muttered. Jerry yelled, so you did do something, didn't you? Get to the president's office now. He then took me to the president's office. President, I brought her, Jerry declared forcefully as he opened the door. Olivia followed in a hurry. Oh, I'd been waiting, the president said, looking me in the eyes. Jerry accused me like I was the culprit. It appears that Neil was involved in the cessation of transactions with our clients. We should not only make her responsible, but also sue her for damages. Olivia argued vehemently, though her language was careful in front of the president. The president ignored them and asked, why did so many companies stop transactions after you left? I took a deep breath and answered clearly, don't you understand? Our clients don't need us to manage their taxes. There are tax accountant firms that do it cheaper, yet they continued with us because I was here. Jerry snapped at me. What's with that attitude towards the president? And you think you're worth that much? Olivia taunted. There's no way. It has to be Nicole. The president looked serious. Jerry and Olivia work based on the manual, optimizing operations. But I do more than that. I offer tax-saving strategies tailored to our clients' situations. Uniform responses don't always serve the client's best interests. Many clients preferred my approach and stayed because of it. Jerry got angry. How can we afford to give such detailed attention to each case? It takes too much time. That's right. It's inefficient, Olivia strongly agreed. The president sighed deeply and said, actually, I just got a call from Dad, the former president. Some of the clients who stopped transactions had gone directly to him to negotiate about Nicole. I was surprised to hear this. I had expected the clients to go that far for me. Dad said that the tax department was viable because of Nicole. She not only managed her clients, but also supported her colleagues' clients. and she has knowledge that Jerry can't match. Dad also said that if Nicole hadn't declined, she would have been in a higher position than a department head by now. The president spoke with a pained expression. No, no way. Olivia looked shocked. She probably couldn't believe I might have been her boss. The president continued, I'm really sorry for making you resign. But can we cancel your resignation, Nicole? You're needed at our company. I was honestly happy about the president's changed opinion, but I couldn't accept it. Then Jerry interrupted, President, what do you mean she's better than me? I can't accept this. Jerry was visibly upset. Olivia also protested. Jerry is a wonderful boss who cares for his subordinates, and yet you choose Nicole over him. That's unacceptable. The president looked sternly at them. Actually, since Nicole resigned, we've been receiving numerous complaints from the tax department. You two seem to have been pushing your work onto others, haven't you? What? Why would you say that? Jerry's face turned pale. The president started speaking with a look of disgust. I've heard from the employees. Jerry, you've been pushing the preparation of your clients' declaration forms onto your subordinates, haven't you? Including Olivia's work for many clients. Next to Jerry, who was getting paler, Olivia trembled when her name was mentioned. There was a leak saying you've been pushing your work onto Nicole until she resigned. Jerry, you are calling her a salary thief. It seems the roles are reversed, aren't they? The president spoke with a sigh. No, that's not true. Jerry was visibly flustered, unable to come up with an excuse. Observing Jerry and Olivia turning pale together, the president continued, Also, there was a leak that you two are in a relationship. You are often seen leaving work together. But Jerry, you're married, aren't you? The president glared at Jerry and Olivia. I was just mentoring Olivia as her superior, nothing inappropriate. Jerry struggled to find the words when the president produced several receipts. These are receipts queried by the accounting department. These dining expenses filed by Jerry. Who were they with? Certainly not with clients, right? Jerry was sweating profusely, unable to speak. Olivia's face turned ghostly pale. Jerry and Olivia, you've neglected your duty and inflated expense claims. Plus, you're having an affair in the office despite being married, according to company policy. I'm terminating your employment as of today, the president told them calmly and straightforwardly. Jerry and Olivia tried to resist. Please wait. I'll retract the receipt claims. Just don't fire me. I have a family. Jerry desperately tried to reverse his firing. Olivia did the same. Please, I don't want to be fired. I'll apologize to Nicole and the others for dumping work on them. Olivia was on the verge of tears, realizing the severity of being fired for neglecting work and having an affair with a supervisor. She must have been worried about her reputation. I advised Jerry and Olivia, why don't you just stop resisting? It's undignified. Jerry glared at me. Shut up. What would a single person like you understand? I sighed and said, Jerry, you were the one who got me fired. It's just karma. What goes around comes around. Why don't you take some responsibility and reflect a bit, damn it? Jerry looked frustrated. Olivia bit her lip. I haven't reported this yet, but there's more to Jerry and Olivia's misconduct. Should I share more details? I asked the president with a smile. Jerry and Olivia's behavior was well known in the tax department. Their stories had reached me, whether I liked it or not. No, please don't. Nicole stopped. Both were friends frantically trying to stop me. I gave them an ultimatum. Wrongdoings eventually come to light. It would be better for you to face reality before it gets worse. At my words, both of them collapsed to their knees. Ultimately, Jerry and Olivia were fired on the spot. I revealed their misdeeds afterward. These included Jerry faking business trips to go out with Olivia for days and harassing employees they disliked into quitting. They repeatedly reprimanded and pressured employees out of my sight and suddenly assigned work with tight deadlines. The employees who resigned asked me to keep quiet, but now they are happily working at other companies, so I decided it was okay to speak up. The president was furious at my revelation. He expressed his anger about cutting their final salary and also planned to thoroughly investigate past inflated expense claims. Jerry was begging the president, tears in his eyes, "Please don't cut my salary. What will I tell my family if they find out?" Eventually, Jerry and Olivia's affair was exposed to Jerry's wife, and Jerry ended up getting divorced. The two are now facing claims for compensation in the divorce lawsuit. I know this because for some reason, Jerry contacted me. "Please, can you persuade the president to reconsider the firing? Olivia and I are in a real bind now." Apparently, Jerry and Olivia are struggling to find new jobs. The tax industry is somewhat insular. If you commit too many misdeeds, word spreads quickly through the industry's network. That's why no one is willing to hire Jerry and Olivia. They need money for the divorce compensation and living expenses, so now they're working day labor at construction sites. People used to office work suddenly doing hard labor outdoors must be tough. Olivia often calls me, crying, "Nickel, please help. I just wanted a raise and a better life." I never really liked Jerry, and this situation is unbearable, Olivia would say, crying. However, Jerry and Olivia's predicament is their own doing. Many people, including myself, have been victims of their actions. So I told Olivia, "This is all your own fault, Olivia. You can't undo what's been done. It will be hard to return to the same path. You're just going to have to deal with the hardships. No way." Olivia cried out in despair. This was the outcome of Olivia's actions. I hope she continues to regret her actions in the future. As for me, I'm still enjoying a relaxed lifestyle away from work. The president has been begging me to return, but I have declined. After being told to resign once, I don't think I'll go back. Sometimes I help out at a friend's tax office to earn a bit of money. Maybe once things settle down, I'll start my own office. In my own office, no one can complain about my working style. I can fully dedicate myself to my clients as a tax accountant. I want to be on equal footing with my clients, not as a teacher, but as part of the service industry. My second life has just begun. I'm looking forward to delving into what I want to do next. Olivia's tears and pleas for help continued to come. "Nickel, please help. I just wanted a better life," she would cry. But her words didn't move me. The memory of the stress and harassment I endured because of her and Jerry was still fresh in my mind. "Olivia, you made your bed, and now you have to lie in it," I would tell her. "You can't expect sympathy when you showed none to others." "But it's so hard," Olivia would sob. "I never imagined it would turn out like this." "Actions have consequences," I replied. "You and Jerry brought this on yourselves. You can't go back and undo it. Now you have to face the results of what you've done." Olivia's cries of despair were the echoes of her own choices. It was a harsh lesson, but one she needed to learn. As for me, I found peace in my new routine. Helping out at my friend's tax office was rewarding. I enjoyed the work without the toxic atmosphere Jerry and Olivia had created. The president's requests for me to return became more frequent. "Please come back, Nicole, we need you," he would say. "I'm sorry, but I can't return," I would reply each time. "I appreciate the offer, but I've moved on." Starting my own office became a clearer goal each day. In my own space, I would set the rules. No more dealing with unfair treatment or office politics. I would focus on providing the best service to my clients, building relationships based on trust and respect. In this new chapter of my life, I could finally breathe. I felt lighter, free from the burdens of the past. My days were filled with purpose, and my nights were peaceful, free from the anxiety that had once plagued me. Looking forward, I saw endless possibilities. I could expand my skills, take on new challenges, and build something of my own. My second life was just beginning, and I was excited about the future. No longer weighed down by the negativity of my old job, I could now fully embrace the opportunities ahead as I planned my new business. I remembered the support and trust my clients had shown me. They were the reason I continued in this field. Their belief in my abilities was the foundation of my new venture. With them in mind, I knew I would succeed. My journey had been tough, but it had made me strong. Stronger now, I was ready to turn the page and start a new chapter with renewed energy and a clear vision. I looked forward to what was to come. My past experiences had taught me valuable lessons, and I was eager to apply them in my new role. In the end, Olivia and Jerry's downfall served as a reminder of the importance of integrity and respect in the workplace. Their story was a cautionary tale, one that reinforced my commitment to building a positive and supportive environment in my own office. As I moved forward, I carried with me the knowledge that I could overcome any obstacle. My resilience and determination had brought me this far, and they would continue to guide me in the future. My second life was not just a continuation of the old, but a new beginning full of promise and potential.